The camera closes in on Muhammad Ali's face, sweat glistening on his brow as he pounds a heavy bag with methodical precision. Each punch echoes through the empty gym like thunder. It's 5 in the morning, and Ali is already 2 hours into his training. The sound of the gym door opening breaks his rhythm. He glances up to see his manager, Herbert Muhammad, walking in with 2 men in expensive suits, their faces tight with expectation. "They're here," Herbert says, his voice carrying a weight that makes Ali pause mid-punch. Ali studies the men, recognizing the logo on their briefcases, representatives from one of the biggest corporations in America. The kind of people who don't usually show up at dawn in a boxing gym unless something extraordinary is happening. "Let me guess," Ali says, unwrapping the tape from his hands, his voice carrying that familiar blend of confidence and playfulness. "You boys ain't here for boxing lessons." The taller of the 2 men steps forward, extending his hand. "Mr. Ali, I'm Richard Kensington, Chief Marketing Officer for Global Enterprises. This is my colleague, James Weston. We have a proposition that I believe will be of great interest to you." Ali doesn't take the offered hand immediately. Instead, he looks directly into Kensington's eyes. "Last time someone came to me with that line, they wanted me to go to Vietnam. Didn't work out too well for either of us." The tension in the room is palpable. Herbert shifts uncomfortably, knowing what's coming. The sponsors exchange glances, and Kensington clears his throat. $10 million, Mr. Ali, Kensington says, his voice low but clear. "That's what we're prepared to offer you for a series of advertisements and public appearances." Ali's eyebrows raise slightly. Even for him, $10 million is a staggering sum, especially in 1975 when his career is at a crucial turning point after the Rumble in the Jungle victory. $10 million, Ali repeats, testing the weight of the number on his tongue. "That's a lot of money for a boy from Louisville. What's the catch?" Kensington smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. "We just need you to soften certain aspects of your public image. Specifically, we'd like you to distance yourself from the Nation of Islam. Perhaps suggest that your conversion was a phase, something you've moved beyond." The gym falls silent. Even the hum of the fluorescent light seems to fade away. Ali's expression doesn't change, but something shifts in his eyes. A hardening, a focus, like when he spots an opening in his opponent's defense. "You want me to deny my faith?" Ali says. "It's not a question. Not deny," Weston interjects quickly. "Just downplay. America isn't ready for a Muslim champion, Mr. Ali. Our market research shows that your religious affiliation is costing you, and potentially us, millions in endorsements and public support." Ali looks at Herbert, who avoids his gaze. This isn't the first time they've had this conversation. The pressure has been building from all sides, sponsors, the boxing commission, even some fans, to tone down his religious identity, to be more palatable to mainstream America. $10 million, Kensington repeats, placing a contract on the bench beside them. "All you need to do is sign, and in your next interview, make a simple statement that we've prepared." The camera zooms in on the contract, then pans to Ali's face as he looks at it, his expression unreadable. The sponsors wait, confident in the power of their offer. $10 million in 1975, enough to secure his family's future for generations. All for a few words. Ali reaches for the contract and Herbert exhales with relief. The sponsors exchange satisfied glances. But instead of picking it up, Ali pushes it aside and turns back to the heavy bag. "I'm going to tell you something," Ali says, his voice quiet but carrying across the empty gym. "And I want you to listen real careful because I'm only going to say it once." The executives lean forward, their confidence faltering at the unexpected response. "My faith isn't for sale," Ali says, landing a powerful punch on the bag that makes everyone in the room flinch. "Not for 10 million, not for 100 million, not for all the money in the world." The executives stand frozen, stunned by the immediate rejection. Herbert closes his eyes, a mixture of pride and concern washing over his face. "But Mr. Ali," Kensington stammers, "you need to understand what you're turning down. This is generational wealth we're talking about." Ali stops punching and turns to face them fully. "What good would that money be if I had to face Allah knowing I sold my soul for it? You think I haven't been offered money before to be quiet? To be the kind of Negro America wants me to be? They took my title when I stood up against the war. You think I care about your money more than my integrity?" Weston steps forward, his voice taking on an edge. "Be reasonable, Ali. Everyone compromises. This isn't about integrity. It's about business. Ali's laugh fills the gym, that familiar boisterous sound that has charmed millions. But there's something else beneath it now. A steel that wasn't there before. You know what my mother told me when I was a boy? Ali asks, his voice shifting to that storyteller cadence that has made him as famous outside the ring as in it. She said, "To Cassius, that was my name then. Cassius, if you ever have to choose between what's right and what's easy, remember that your dignity isn't something you can buy back once you've sold it." Ali turns his back on them and begins wrapping his hands again, signaling that as far as he's concerned, the conversation is over. "We're prepared to go to 12 million, Kensington says, desperation creeping into his voice. "Think about what that means for your family, for your future after boxing." Ali doesn't turn around. "My future is in Allah's hands, not yours. Now, if you don't mind, I've got training to do. I've got a fight coming up, and my opponent isn't going to care about how much money I turn down when he's trying to take my head off." The next morning, Ali sits in his kitchen, newspapers spread across the table. Herbert stands by the window, phone pressed to his ear, his expression grim as he listens to the voice on the other end. "They're going public with it," Herbert says after hanging up. "Their PR team is spinning it as Ali rejects American values or some nonsense. They're trying to pressure you into reconsidering." Ali nods, unsurprised. "Let them. I've been called worse than un-American before." Herbert sits down across from him, concern etched on his face. "Muhammad, I support your decision. You know I do. But this isn't just about the money anymore. They're powerful people and they're not used to being turned down. They could make things difficult for your next fights, for your endorsements." Ali looks up from his breakfast, his eyes clear and determined. "Difficult? Herbert, I've had my championship stripped away. I've been banned from boxing for 3 years in my prime. I've had death threats from people who hated what I stand for. You think I'm afraid of some corporate executives?" But even as he speaks with confidence, Ali knows the stakes. His comeback has been remarkable, but it's also fragile. The boxing world hasn't fully embraced his return, and the financial pressures are real. He has a large family to support, and his spending habits haven't always been the most prudent. The phone rings again. Herbert answers, his expression shifting from concern to surprise. "It's Howard Cosell," he says, covering the receiver. "He wants to interview you about the global enterprises situation. It's already leaked to the press." Ali takes the phone, his demeanor shifting to the charismatic public persona that has made him the most recognizable athlete in the world. "Howard, what's shaking, my friend?" he says, but the strain shows around his eyes. This is becoming bigger than he anticipated, faster than he expected. As Ali talks with Cosell, arranging the details of the interview, Herbert receives another call, this one from Ali's lawyer. The news isn't good. Global Enterprises is suggesting that they might pursue legal action, claiming that preliminary discussions had already established a verbal agreement. "It's nonsense," Herbert tells Ali after he hangs up with Cosell. "They're bluffing, trying to scare you, but they've got deep pockets for lawyers." Ali's expression darkens. "They want a fight? I'll give them a fight, but not the kind they're used to." Later that day, as Ali prepares for his interview with Cosell, his wife enters the room, concern evident in her eyes. "The children heard something on the radio," she says quietly, "about you turning down money because of your faith. They're asking questions." Ali sits down, suddenly looking tired. The public battles he can handle. The impact on his family is what weighs on him. "What did you tell them?" he asks. "That their father stands by what he believes in," she replies. "That he taught them money isn't everything." Ali nods, grateful for her support, but the burden is visible in the set of his shoulders. As he leaves for the studio, he notices a small group of protesters outside his home, people holding signs condemning him for his religious beliefs. It's a stark reminder of the divisions in America and how his stance has placed him at the center of them once again. At the studio, Howard Cosell greets him with a firm handshake and a searching look. "They're coming after you hard on this one, Muhammad," Cosell warns as they prepare for the interview. "You sure you want to do this?" Ali adjusts his tie, his expression resolute. "Howard, when have you ever known me to back down from a fight?" The lights come up, and Cosell introduces the segment. The cameras zoom in on Ali, and millions of Americans tune in to hear what the controversial champion has to say. "Muhammad," Cosell begins, "reports have surfaced that you turned down an unprecedented offer of $10 million from Global Enterprises because they asked you to downplay your Muslim faith. Is this accurate? The camera holds on Ali's face, capturing the moment of truth. The world waits for his answer. That's right, Howard, Ali replies, his voice clear and unwavering. They came to me with a check that had more zeros than I've ever seen, but it came with a condition that I couldn't accept. And that condition was to distance yourself from Islam? Cosell presses, his distinctive voice carrying the question to millions of living rooms across America. They wanted me to deny who I am, Ali responds, leaning forward slightly. To tell the world that my faith, the faith that guides every aspect of my life, was just a phase, something I could set aside when it became inconvenient or unprofitable. Cosell nods, his expression serious. $10 million is a substantial amount to refuse. Many would say that's a sacrifice few would be willing to make. Ali's famous smile flashes briefly. Howard, let me ask you something. How much would someone have to pay you to stop being who you are? To deny your beliefs, your identity, your principles? There are some things in this world that don't have a price tag, and a man's faith should be one of them. The studio falls silent as the weight of his words sinks in. Even Cosell, known for his quick comebacks, takes a moment before continuing. Global Enterprises has issued a statement suggesting that there were preliminary agreements in place, and that your refusal constitutes a breach of good faith negotiations. How do you respond to that? Ali's expression hardens. That's a lie, plain and simple. There was no agreement, they made an offer, I declined it. They're just not used to hearing the word no, especially from someone who looks like me. As the interview continues, calls begin flooding the network, some supporting Ali, others condemning him. The switchboard lights up like a Christmas tree, a visual representation of how deeply his stance has divided public opinion. Back at Ali's home, the situation is escalating. The small group of protesters has grown, joined now by a contingent of supporters. Police have arrived to keep the peace, but the tension is palpable. Ali's children watch from the windows, confused and frightened by the commotion. Meanwhile, in the plush offices of Global Enterprises, executives huddle around a television, watching the interview with growing alarm. The public relations disaster is unfolding exactly as their crisis team predicted, but the solution remains elusive. He's making us look like villains. Kensington fumes, loosening his tie as sweat beads on his forehead. We need to get ahead of this narrative before it completely spirals out of control. Maybe we should just drop it, suggests one of the junior executives. Cut our losses and move on. Kensington shoots him a withering look. We've already committed to this course of action. Backing down now would be an admission of guilt. No, we need to discredit him. Make it clear that this isn't about religious freedom. It's about him being difficult, unreasonable. As the executives plot their next move, Ali finishes his interview with a statement that will be replayed on news broadcasts around the world. I don't hate these men for trying to buy my silence. They're just doing what they've been taught to do, throwing money at problems until they go away. But I want them and everyone watching to understand something. My faith isn't a problem to be solved. It's the foundation of who I am. And if standing by that costs me $10 million, then that's a price I'm willing to pay. The days that follow are a whirlwind. Global Enterprises launches a coordinated media campaign, suggesting that Ali's refusal was part of a calculated publicity stunt. They release edited portions of the meeting transcript that portray Ali as aggressive and unreasonable, but something unexpected happens. Rather than turning public opinion against Ali, their tactics begin to backfire. People who have never supported Ali before find themselves questioning the corporation's motives. Religious leaders from various faiths, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, issue statements supporting Ali's right to stand by his convictions. 6 days after the initial offer, Ali receives a call from an unexpected source, Samuel Phillips, the CEO of Global Enterprises' largest competitor. The conversation is brief, but will change everything. Mr. Ali, Phillips says, his voice carrying the confident tone of someone used to making big decisions. I've been watching this situation unfold with great interest. I want you to know that my company respects your principles. We'd like to offer you an endorsement deal. $8 million, no strings attached regarding your faith or beliefs. In fact, we'd like to build our campaign around the concept of integrity. Would you be interested in discussing this further? Ali sits in silence for a moment, processing the offer. It's less money than Global Enterprises offered, but without the moral compromise. It's a vindication of his stance, proof that standing firm doesn't always mean standing alone. I'd be very interested, Mr. Phillips, Ali finally responds. But I need to be clear about something up front. I'm a Muslim. That's not going to change. If that's a problem for your company down the line, we should stop this conversation now. Phillips's laugh comes through the phone line. Mr. Ali, it's precisely because you wouldn't compromise on that point that we want to work with you. Integrity is rare these days. When we find it, we value it. As Ali hangs up the phone, he feels a weight lifting from his shoulders. The fight isn't over. Global Enterprises is still pushing their narrative and the public remains divided. But something has shifted. He's proven once again that standing by his principles, no matter the cost, has value beyond money. 3 weeks later, Ali stands in front of a crowd of thousands in Chicago's Grant Park. What began as a simple endorsement announcement has evolved into something much more significant, a rally for religious freedom and personal integrity. People of all faiths and backgrounds have gathered, drawn by Ali's stand against corporate pressure. Behind the stage, Samuel Phillips adjusts his tie nervously. "Are you sure about this?" he asks Ali. "We agreed to respect your faith, but we didn't exactly plan on making it the centerpiece of the announcement." Ali places a reassuring hand on Phillips's shoulder. "Trust me," he says with that characteristic twinkle in his eye. "What I'm about to say will be worth far more than $8 million to your company." As Ali steps onto the stage, the crowd erupts in cheers and applause. Cameras flash, capturing the moment for newspapers around the world. He raises his hands, and gradually the noise subsides. "I want to thank you all for coming out today," Ali begins, his voice carrying across the park without need for amplification, a skill honed through years of holding audiences captive with his words. "Many of you know that a few weeks ago I was offered $10 million to turn my back on my faith, to pretend that being a Muslim was just something I did for attention, not the core of who I am." The crowd murmurs, some nodding in agreement, others still skeptical about his choices. "I said no," Ali continues, "not because I don't need the money. I got bills just like everybody else." This draws laughter from the crowd. "I said no because there are some things in this world that aren't for sale. A man's faith, his dignity, his integrity." Ali pauses, looking out at the sea of faces, some black, some white, some wearing religious symbols of various faiths, others not, all united in this moment, listening to his message. "Now I'm standing here today to announce a partnership with Phillips International, and I want to be clear about something. They're paying me $8 million. More laughter ripples through the crowd. $2 million less than the other offer. But you know what? This money comes with respect. It comes with understanding. It comes with the recognition that a man's principles aren't negotiable." Ali turns to acknowledge Phillips, who steps forward to shake his hand as cameras capture the moment. The crowd's applause is deafening. "This isn't just about me," Ali continues when the noise dies down. "This is about all of us. Every person who's ever been asked to compromise who they are for someone else's comfort. Every person who's been told their beliefs are too much, too different, too inconvenient. I'm here to tell you, stand firm. Because when you stand for something, sooner or later the world stands with you." In the audience, a young boy sits on his father's shoulders, eyes wide with admiration. In years to come, he'll tell his own children about this day, about how Muhammad Ali taught him that integrity matters more than money. At the back of the crowd, unseen by most, Richard Kensington watches with a complex expression, part frustration, part grudging respect. The campaign against Ali has backfired spectacularly, damaging Global Enterprises' reputation while elevating their competitors. In the coming days, he'll tender his resignation, but he'll also send a private letter to Ali, acknowledging that he misjudged both the man and the moment. As Ali concludes his speech, the camera pans out to capture the entire scene. The cheering crowd, the triumphant champion, the corporate executives who bet on integrity and won. It's a moment that transcends sports, business, and even religion, a testament to the power of standing by one's convictions no matter the cost. That evening, as Ali sits with his family, his youngest daughter climbs onto his lap and asks the question children often do, "Daddy, are you rich now?" Ali smiles, pulling her close. "Baby, I was rich before any of this happened. Rich in faith, rich in principles, rich in knowing who I am and what I stand for. The money? That's just a bonus Allah has blessed us with, because we stayed true to Him." As the credits roll, text appears on screen. Muhammad Ali never revealed the exact words he said to the sponsors when rejecting their offer, but his actions spoke louder than any words could have. Throughout his life, he remained steadfast in his faith, proving that true wealth isn't measured in dollars but in the courage to stand by one's convictions. The final shot shows Ali in prayer, the quiet dignity of the moment a stark contrast to the public spectacle of his boxing persona, a reminder that beneath the bravado and showmanship was a man of deep, unshakable faith. "I don't have to be what you want me to be," Ali's voice narrates over this final image, quoting his famous words from years earlier. "I'm free to be what I want." The screen fades to black, leaving viewers with a powerful message about the value of integrity in a world that too often puts a price tag on everything, including one's soul.